So, diets are difficult. The benefit of becoming a vegetarian is that I guarantee you more vitality, less damage to your joints. How does that work? Here's the deal. If arthritis runs in the family, you're going to want to be a vegetarian. If you've ever had an ulcer on the inside of your cheek, that tells you that your body is too acidic. And it is the acid in your bloodstream that will eat away at the synovial joints or the synovial membranes. You'll lose the fluid. You'll end up with arthritis. Why? Because meat, fish, fowl, even nuts and grains, and dairy all leave an acid ash in your bloodstream. And it is when the body is acidic, it is more of an opportunity to be a host to germs, and I'm going to use that as a catch-all for viruses, funguses. But when your body is in an acidic environment or creates an acidic environment, everything that's bad for you will flourish. If you want to keep your body healthy and you want to have great mobility and endurance and vitality, then by all means consider a vegetarian diet. For number one, fruits and vegetables will make your bloodstream alkaline. When your body is alkaline, germs and cancer cannot survive in an alkaline environment. So that's why you want to be vegetarian. If you get into Chinese philosophy, it's really interesting. They say that the way that our teeth are shaped indicates that we're supposed to be vegetarians, because if you look at an animal, how many of you have cats and dogs? You have, okay. Take a look at your animal's teeth. You'll see that they have no molars. They've got nothing to grind down nuts and berries and barks and roots, okay? They rip, they tear, and they swallow. Animals have a shorter intestinal tract. Why? Because it is meat and there's a requirement, or it's, God saw to it, that it's rapid expulsion. Our intestinal tract is 5 times longer than an animal's. And why? So that there's a slower uptake of the nutrients from the fruits, the vegetables, the nuts, the grains, the bark, the berries. These are all the things. But when you add meat into the picture, well, meat takes a long time to go through, and so many people have been trained to only have a bowel movement once a day. Ideally, 3 times a day, but almost all of us are conditioned for once a day. I've met people who will have a bowel movement twice a week and think it's normal. If you're not going at least once every day, then you have to know that that material is sitting in your colon. And as those toxins are sitting there and putrefying, they're being let me rephrase that. The meat is putrefying, the toxins are there, and the toxins are being reabsorbed into your body. And the toxins are what create havoc. So now the question is, okay, so we get the why. The why is it's literally, truly unhealthy. Ideally, I think it would be wonderful if you did move into a vegetarian diet. But if you're not going to, and you can't make that transition of giving up your foods because you're too attached to it, then consider, if you're going to eat meat that is a free-range critter that is fed organic grasses. Okay? Because the grasses, the farmers won't waste money on fertilizing or spraying. But grains, they will. So you're going to want to look at that. If you're going to do fowl, and again, the same thing here for turkeys and chickens, they are also fed the antibiotics, the hormones, so that they gain weight. That way they'll be worth more at slaughter, and you'll get more money. But if you're going to maintain that diet, take a look at turkey over chicken, because turkey has less fat. And the reason you don't want to consume fat is because fat is where all the toxins are. If you're going to do fish, we didn't even talk about fish. The dangers with fish are the fact that, number one, because we have absolutely no respect for the earth, none whatsoever, we are polluting our oceans, we are polluting our streams, and if you currently eat fish, you go out and it says salmon on the menu, ask them where did it come from. If it's farm raised, you're going to have more toxins and chemicals in a farm raised piece of fish than you will in wild caught. And even in wild caught, there is so much garbage because as far as we're concerned, that's what the ocean is for. Let's just dump our garbage in the ocean. And so the fish are dealing with it. Another consideration with fish and why you should avoid, let me rephrase that, why it might be beneficial to avoid fish products, aside from the toxicity and the pollution of the fish, we are decimating the oceans. I think I read somewhere in E! Magazine or one of the environmental magazines that we have already harvested all of the adult fish out of the oceans. We're now harvesting the teenagers. They say by 2050, most of the ocean will be dead. So, and when it comes to shellfish, you know, all you got to do is go back to Leviticus, Deuteronomy. The Bible tells you, do not eat shellfish. Why? Because they're the scavengers. They clean the ocean floor. They have a different enzyme system. Because think about it, if they didn't have a different enzyme system, and if they didn't clean the ocean floor, with as old as this planet is and as much life has passed through here, you can begin to see the bodies stacking up and rot. Okay? So when you look at shellfish, you're really looking at something that should not be consumed because they're scavengers. They're freshwater fish, and even when it comes to water in this country, my recommendations to you are distillation. We have a filtration system at home, and where I used to live out on the land, we had a well. Our well went down, I think, 260 feet. Even with that, as clean as we think the water may be, we would distill it. Now we live in the city, and the house we bought had a filtration system, an expensive one. We still distill our water that we are going to drink with or cook with. Because there are something like 100,000 different chemicals in our environment. So becoming a vegetarian is both a statement of wanting to be healthy, a statement of power from the sense that I can be strong enough to move away from my tradition, from my culture, from my favorite foods, the things that give me security. Because the truth of the matter is there's no security outside of yourself. Pure and simple. And obviously God, and that's both in and out. We're taught that the kingdom is within as well as without. Having said that, you know, the other side of the coin is a healthier diet will do you more good. So now the question comes up, okay, how do I become, okay, now I got why, because it's just unhealthy to eat all those kinds of critters. So now the question is, how do I go about becoming a vegetarian? And another question that occurred to me is, how important is protein? Well, for the younger kids, it's vital. They need protein. For us older folks, not so much, even though they would have us believe that we need protein nonstop. After all, if you look at advertising, you are being inspired, motivated, manipulated, coerced into eating meat, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Back in the 40s and early 50s, they knew that cancer was caused by excess protein and mutated proteins. And yet here we are consuming protein in record amounts. Number two, by the year 2010, cancer will be the #1 cause of death in the United States, surpassing cardiovascular disease. Okay, and where is that all coming from? It's coming from the chemicals.